I don't consider myself an emotional person. At least I didn't. Until I met the onion. I don't mean metaphorically. I mean the actual round, slightly papery kind that sits quietly in a basket near my kitchen window. The kind that waits for you to look away, then ambushes your tear ducts like a tiny aromatic assassin. The first time I cried cutting an onion, I was surprised. It wasn't a weeping kind of cry, no sobbing or dramatic sniffles, just a slow, stubborn leaking from the corners of both eyes, like a faucet not quite turned off. And the thing is, once it starts, you can't stop. You pause, you blink, you think it's over, and then it sneaks back. So I began testing solutions. Every trick, every myth, every mildly scientific theory I came across. Not because I was desperate, no, because I was curious, and because I like small projects with no consequences. I started with the freezer trick. I put the onion in for 15 minutes, as suggested. It came out slightly chilled, and I was hopeful. Unfortunately, a cold onion is still an onion. It just makes your eyes sting slightly later. I tried cutting the onion under running water, which, in theory, should wash away the sulfur compounds before they reach your face. In practice, it left me with a soggy onion, wet sleeves, and a mild sense of betrayal. Then came the goggles. Not swimming goggles, but full-blown fog-proof, suction-sealed safety goggles. The kind you'd wear during a lab experiment or a minor spacewalk. I wore them proudly. I felt prepared, protected. And then, 5 seconds into cutting, the goggles fogged up completely. I couldn't see a thing. I cut blind. I cried anyway, possibly out of confusion. Someone once told me to light a candle near the chopping board. Something about the flame neutralizing the air. I did it. It didn't help. But it did make the kitchen smell faintly of vanilla while I blinked furiously into my soup pot. Another theory involved chewing gum while chopping. Allegedly, the chewing motion prevents your face from reacting to the onion fumes. I tried spearmint, then cinnamon, then a wild cherry flavour that made me question my life choices. I cried anyway, though this time I smelled like a dessert. At one point, I simply held my breath the entire time. This worked for about 20 seconds, after which I gasped and the onion took its chance. I even tried talking to the onion, calmly, kindly, as if we were negotiating. "Let's just get through this together," I whispered once as I peeled the first layer. "No one has to get hurt." The onion did not respond. Eventually, I gave up on all these tricks and accepted my fate. I would cry, every time, quietly, respectfully, almost ceremonially, like lighting incense at the beginning of a meal. And yet, last Tuesday, something strange happened. A skilding.
I had a particularly calm afternoon. The house was quiet. I had no plans. I was listening to a YouTube video of gentle rain sounds. No music, no voices, just soft rain hitting pavement. I peeled the onion slowly. No rush. I placed it on the cutting board. I sliced once. No tears. Another slice. Still nothing. I thought perhaps I was immune, or maybe the onion was tired. Or perhaps, in that exact moment, the universe and I had reached some silent understanding. I could have this one. I haven't replicated that success since, but I've kept the rain sounds playlist. And every time I reach for an onion, I take a breath, light a candle for ambiance, not effectiveness, and remind myself, Even if I cry, it's okay. Some things are worth the sting, especially when they go well with soup. There was a time, brief but entirely real, when I dedicated my Sunday afternoons to arranging onions. It began innocently enough. I had bought too many one week, distracted by a sale and the vague idea of making French onion soup. I never did. They sat in a basket near the window, looking like a pile of tiny helmets for very organized rodents. The basket was woven from light-colored reed, the kind that lets sunlight peek through its little gaps. When the light hit at just the right angle, around 3:12 p.m., it cast golden stripes across the onions like sleepy prison bars. It felt like they were waiting for something, so I decided to give them purpose. At first, I sorted them by size, smallest to largest, left to right, then largest to smallest, then smallest in the middle, growing outward like ripples in a pond. It felt satisfying, like aligning pencils or trimming uneven fingernails. Then I noticed the shapes. Some were perfectly round, confident. Some had odd little bumps as though they had once tried to become something else but gave up halfway. One was almost square. I kept that one on the edge of the basket. I didn't want it to feel pressured to conform. I began naming them. Not real names, just concepts. The roundest one I called Optimism. The wrinkled one with a soft spot, Tuesday. The twin onions still joined at the root. Codependency, but make it rustic. Eventually, I noticed they made different sounds. When I lifted each one and gave it a gentle tap with my fingernail, some gave a hollow clunk, like an old drawer. Others whispered, soft, papery rustles, like someone folding a love letter they'd never send. A few were completely silent. Those I considered thoughtful. It became a routine. Sunday, mid-afternoon, light soup on the stove, window cracked just enough to let in the smell of neighborly laundry detergent. I would sit at the kitchen table and quietly evaluate onions. Sometimes I'd sort them by sound, sometimes by texture. Once, just for fun, I sorted them by the likelihood that they had secrets. There was something deeply comforting about this ritual. The world outside could be loud and sharp, but here, in the company of quietly judgmental vegetables, I was in control. Of course, not everyone understood. A friend once opened my fridge and asked, "Why do you have a labeled tray that says, 'Onions pending'?" I didn't explain. You can't explain a system like this. It either speaks to you or it doesn't. And besides, pending is an important category. It means the onion is not yet ready. Maybe its skin hasn't dried properly. Maybe its shape feels emotionally unfinished. Maybe I just have a hunch. Once, I placed a particularly wobbly onion in the pending tray for 6 days. On the 7th, I moved it to mildly philosophical. On the 8th, I made a stir-fry. It all felt right. Some people collect coins. I don't think I chose the rituals. I think they slowly grew around me, like ivy on a wall you didn't realize was even there, until one day it bloomed into habit. There are many small actions I take in my kitchen that serve no functional purpose, at least not in the traditional sense. But I do them anyway, always, because not doing them feels wrong. Not morally wrong, just slightly off, like wearing one damp sock. Take the pot lid, for example. Every time I boil water, whether it's for pasta, rice, or tea, I'll forget to drink. I tap the lid 3 times with the back of a spoon before placing it on the pot. 3 distinct taps. Not too fast, not too soft. I don't know why I started doing this. I think I once had a stubborn lid that rattled unless I warned it first. Or maybe I read somewhere, probably not in a reliable place, that 3 taps encourage even heating. Whatever the origin, it stuck. And now, if I forget, the water never quite feels hot enough. I suspect it's just in my head, but then again, so is everything. Then there's the drawer ritual. I have a drawer, everyone does, that holds a combination of things no one remembers buying. Rubber bands from produce bags, tea lights with no holders, and a small whisk I've never used but won't throw away. When I open this drawer, I must hum. Not a song, just a hum. A soft, absent-minded note, like a signal to the drawer that I come in peace. I do this without thinking. Once, a guest noticed and asked what tune I was humming. I hadn't realized I was. There is also the pause. Every morning, when I walk into the kitchen and see it just as I left it, quiet, a little cluttered, but still mine, I pause, right before I touch anything. It's not dramatic, just a second or two. I look around, check that the spoon from last night is still in the sink, confirm that the plant on the windowsill is still leaning too far left, glance at the fridge, note that its hum is still the same key as yesterday. Then I begin. I like kitchens because they accept you as you are. You can enter sleepy, cheerful, cranky, or confused. The stove doesn't care. The tiles remain cool. The butter still softens if you leave it out. These rituals, these strange little repetitions, they tether me. They remind me that the world still spins the same way, even if my inbox doesn't. I also have a very strict rule about the trash can lid. I must never open it with my dominant hand. I can't explain why. I've just never done it. My left hand does the honors, always. If I accidentally use my right, I close it and start over. It's not superstition. It's choreography. Sometimes, I think if I wrote these